Welcome to the Indie Corner. We're talking about all things independent comics, specifically the deadliest high school comic in the 80s, Rick Remender's Deadly Class. I'm Mikey.
I'm Rebecca.
I'm Demoan.
And today, people are back again with episode 3 of the Deadly Class podcast. And today, we're going to be covering volume 3 of Deadly Class, titled The Snake Pit, which is going to cover issues 12 to 16. And I'm excited. Hope you're excited. And yeah, we'll just get right into it. It's just gonna be, and I just want to make a cliff note real quick. All right, so I told Rebecca to not read the last couple pages of the last issue of this arc because I think the bomb drop is so good and it sets up the next volume of like the stakes of the next volume, the total next volume perfectly. So just so you know, Rebecca is kind of out of the loop.
As per usual.
True. But yeah, we'll just get right into it, people. So who is gonna get issue number uno?
That's me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I think you got your numbers wrong there.
I did, yes.
This is Deadly Class issue number 12. Cool cover. I don't know if you guys have any things to say about it before we get into it.
Not really. It kind of just sets the vibe of what to expect from like this issue. So
makes sense.
And Christian says hello, by the way. So hello, Christian.
Hi, Christian.
Hello. Thank you for your support.
All right. So getting into it, this volume begins right about where we left off in volume 2. We see Billy and Saya running off from the group's checkpoint, with Saya assuring Billy that the others will be fine, but they won't be if they stay there. And it's unclear whether or not Saya knows about Chico's dad at this point. Cut to the others, and Chico's dad and company are still holding Willie at gunpoint as he explains that he couldn't believe his quote-unquote daughter would do this to him. Willie tries to explain that Chico's death wasn't Maria's fault, which angers Chico's dad as he orders his goon to kill Willie. But just then, Lex, who is unaware of the situation, comes around the corner and immediately gets headshotted.
It's like a huge hole in his head, too.
It's wild, too.
Yeah, it's nothing you could survive.
No. Not at all.
So Marcus, who is super stressed out and has already started hearing Chico's decapitated head talk to him, and he hears the head speak again, telling him to take what may be his only shot at the bad guys. So he kicks the gun out of one of the goons' hands. Maria drops the smoke bomb, and the remaining kids run for their lives. As they leave, oh wait, do you have?
I was saying some. Did anyone like die laughing when Chico's talking head said "Holy frijoles"? I don't know about you.
It took me a minute to think, like, is the comic actually going with dead talking heads, or is this a hallucination?
Oh no, Marcus just has lost his mind.
Either way, honestly.
I don't think he's ever completely recovered since the acid trip.
It's still hitting. It's still hitting since issue 12.
Yeah,
it's that long-lasting acid.
This is just his life now, honestly.
Honestly, though, given some of the later events in this comic, you could say it still is the acid trip happening.
That's true.
But where was I? As they leave, Chico's dad picks up Chico's head and says that since he can't avenge himself, he's sending Chico's older brother after Maria. And they immediately establish he's evil by having him run over a random civilian with his motorcycle.
Okay, here's the thing, right? Like,
are you going to defend him running over the civilian?
No.
Okay.
Because I think Christian just left, but I wanted to ask what his name meant. I know it's like caballo amarillo, but like I know amarillo is yellow, but like I don't know what caballo.
Dude, just use Google Translate.
I'm gonna figure this out. But
I thought he was the Pale Rider.
I think that might be it.
Because they said he brought the Father, the Holy Ghost, and the Pale Rider.
Mm-hmm. And I love the way he's drawn too. He like generally looks like terrifying, and you will see how terrifying he is due to how Maria expresses like how afraid of him she is, you know. So,
yeah. So what follows after this is a long action sequence of Maria and Marcus running from Chico's brother, and he has an extra goon on his motorcycle as they tear down anyone who gets in their way. While they're running, Marcus steals a bike, buying them barely a few extra seconds of time as they speed down a hill. He tells Maria to use a grenade in his backpack despite there not being enough room in between the two parties. And as expected, it works, but they also get caught in crossfire.
But this man's like,
grenades will do that to you.
Yeah.
This man's like, please land, please land. It just eats shit. It is so funny.
So Marcus blacks out for a second, surprised to see Maria didn't leave him for dead, as she has an idea. Using her blood, she marks a bus, and the two hop on a different one, leading the bad guys off their trail. Then we get a quiet moment as Maria patches Marcus up, and Marcus tells her his tragic backstory and how her pain hit too close to home for him to want to be with her. And she responds saying, for her, pain is how she bonds with people, and it's the only thing that defines her. Then they kiss, and Marcus says he'll make it up to Maria when this is over, but they've got to think of a plan for when Chico's brother figures out he's been tricked. So, knowing they'll be blocked on an upcoming bridge, Maria waits as a car burns behind her and Chico's brother approaches. As he gets closer and closer, though, Marcus uses the bus to ram them both off the bridge.
Hilarious, dude. So funny.
Yeah, I really like the setup for that. However, they aren't in the clear as the goon tagging along pops out and slashes at Maria. Marcus is able to impale the guy, and I think, maybe I could be wrong, kill him. Though both kids are now in rough shape. Suddenly, Chico's dad clocks Marcus, and he can't do anything but watch as he tranquilizes Maria and takes her away before dropping Marcus off the bridge. And that concludes issue 12.
Yeah.
It's good. it's a good start to
an action-packed issue.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. I really like when we get Maria, and I don't think it's the first time we got it, but I really like Maria's like internal dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
I like the writing on that. I really like at the end here the like parallels with like Maria being taken and Marcus's parents' death, where like he can't help but watch, but he also kind of like looks away in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely visually portrayed that way, especially towards the end when we talk about, the balloon that, Marcus saw, like, when his parents died, the balloon that drifted away. That's kind of like described as like, like that's kind of described as like, his last seconds with Maria, like, because Maria gets taken away from him. I think it's really interesting. But yeah, good point to make.
Yeah, it was a really great line at the end where it's everyone you've ever loved dies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Rebecca was saying before how that's applicable to both of them.
Yeah.
That's true. I don't think what else happened. There's a lot. It was mostly
together.
Yeah, it was
There's a lot of action in this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we really need to talk about Lex dying, but Lex dies in this.
Oh yeah, he does die in this. Yes, right.
It becomes more important later, but
yeah, that's true. But he also just dies being Lex, which is just like him just being a cocky asshole and be like, yeah, we did it.
It's very unceremonious how he does.
Yeah, It felt disrespectful, but I also didn't have that deep of a connection with Lex.
This volume was kind of disrespectful.
That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'll let you on a question here. Do you think that it was that Billy and Saya kind of made the right decision just leaving and not looking for them? Because they just
they didn't get fucked up, so in a way, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't get caught. They didn't get fucked up.
That's true.
They made the right decision for themselves, for sure.
Because like, it doesn't seem like Billy knew what was going on, but with Saya, it could go either way.
That's true. And especially because, like, I think even if they showed up, it wouldn't have changed the outcome of what happened. Like, because, like, Chico's brother and, Alma Diablo and his crew are, like, pretty threatening and pretty much above their league. So, like, they still would have ran either way, I mean, it was not like strength and numbers would have changed anything.
No, they're just trying to survive at this point.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's cool volume. It's a really good start to like, I guess like this El Diablo like antagonist like mini arc, I guess. But yeah, I liked it a lot.
It's a good
That's
one.
Pretty much it. So then we'll go on to issue 8.
Yeah. So the second issue in this volume, we actually cut. Oh, so I should probably start with the Yeah, the cover. I'm reading it all as a book volume, so it just goes one into the other. So I forgot to account for a cover page.
I think this cover's kind of boring.
Yeah, there's not really much going on. It's just a mask. The color scheme it's red and black. It's always a fun color scheme, but there's a lot more interesting color. There's a lot more interesting covers even in just this volume.
That's true. Yeah, this cover is okay. I think it's all right.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so not too much I want to say on the cover. Very simple. Pretty but simple.
Yes.
But we start off the volume cutting back to Willie. If you remember, at some point he got into a truck and started following them last issue. Right now he's coming up and he sees his friend is about to be dropped off the bridge. And he realizes there's no way that he's going to catch up and save them in time. So he pulls this real fun maneuver where he just kind of drives the truck right off of a ledge to catch his friend in the back of the garbage truck. Luckily, he didn't hear a splat or a loud thud, so he didn't kill him, and that's when he was happy. And they landed, and now he's safe in the water.
He's alive.
He's alive. That's true.
Not dead yet, for sure. But after we see that they're at the very least not immediately dead, they cut back to Chico's dad in the car, driving, holding the head of his son. He's so disrespectful with the head of his son.
I mean, define disrespectful.
I mean, there's one point where he's just holding it in his like two hands, and then he's having some monologue, and he throws it over his back shoulder right onto Maria's lap.
I kind of missed it. I kind of missed that because I saw him like hold the head, and then he like kisses it, and then I didn't realize he freaking chucks it. I missed that panel, I guess. Yeah,
he just tossed it back, and I do love about how he's talking, and especially with the way that they've decided to like choosing with like the writing and like the word styling, I guess, how they bolded certain words to show that he was emphasizing them.
Mm-hmm.
So you could kind of get a really good idea of his tone and how like actually connected to Chico he was. It seemed more for him to be some pride thing that this girl dared to disrespect him, rather than he really cared about Chico.
That is what it is, and since you kind of mentioned it, I think this is kind of like a visual way of showing that Chico was still like disposable to him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good.
He loved him in his own, like, you know.
He loved him as far as he was useful.
That's true.
Because he does at least care enough that he's going to take out whatever pain he feels about Chico on Maria by torturing her daily. It seems like.
Yeah, he said he's gonna like torture her slowly every time he feels a sense of grief for Chico. He'll just go down and just torture her.
It's true. He'll release upon her is what he says, which is the worst way to say it. And this is when we find out that Maria actually hasn't been captured, and this was all part of her plan.
Mm-hmm.
She releases like a smoke bomb thing, and they crash, and the car gets tripped over, and oil starts spilling, and this is where so all during the monologue, Chico's dad was talking about how an eye for an eye wasn't enough, and that's why he was going to torture her all along. But here we get we see that her family was burned to death, and she says an eye for an eye is enough for her, and so she sets them on fire.
It's awesome.
The imagery of the flaming fan is so fucking awesome in this picture. This drawing. And I love the way she scrapes it along and it catches on the oil. It's beautiful, and it lights this man ablaze. Because even the next panel of him on fire is really pretty.
Yeah, because she says specifically like this guy. I'm forgetting his name, but this guy specifically is the one that burned her mother alive. So she's basically returning the favor.
Yep, that's where she's saying that she an eye for an eye is enough for her. But he watches her burn, and this is where Chico's dad sneaks up on her and starts attacking her. Chico's dad also has really large hands. Also, he really just gets around the neck.
That's not Chico's dad. That's one of her. No, that's one of his henchmen.
I always get those two confused every time I read the story.
Yeah, reading the story, I was also confused towards the end, like who was who that was like dying.
Yeah, they, in terms of the character design, they kind of, I guess, make this guy and then Diablo like a lot very similar. So
okay, so that's my bad. So this is the guy driving the car. Then this is what this guy was then.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, then she gets caught by him. Still big hands. That doesn't change that comment.
Yeah.
But she stabs him with the fans, and just straight up decapitates him, which is really brutal to watch.
Listen, she's 2 for 2.
She's really good at decapitating people with those fans. I honestly got to give it to her. But I guess this is when she goes after Chico's dad. And she's walking around taunting the father about how she killed his son, and how next he's gonna come for his whore mistress. She's gonna get what's coming to her, and how he should feel proud about being a hardened gangster who kills women and children. And that's when he does come out of the shadows pointing a gun at her. And all of a sudden they cut away, and they cut back to Willie and our boy Marcus trying to find her. Marcus immediately knows, since everyone on the scene is dead, that Maria must still be alive, and he is right. And because they walk and they find her next to a bloody scene of Chico's father's body, hand cut off, leg cut off. Like, she did a number on this man. Like, absolutely brutal. But so immediately Marcus rushes up and tries to comfort her, but she says that she's not really satisfied. She thought the vengeance would be satisfying, but it didn't change anything. Her family's still dead at the end of the day, and they're still probably going to be in trouble. So she's not as happy as she felt she would be. But they do end up making it back to school. Oh gosh, I always forget about this school picture. Where they start talking about how they didn't get caught when they went back in. And they're going to be okay for a while, but once they find Lex's body, they're going to be in deep shit because something happened with it. And students are not supposed to leave campus. They're not supposed to be dying off campus for sure. And they're not supposed to be setting buildings on fire. They've broken a lot of rules tonight is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And you don't break Lynn's rules. That's just the number one rule. That's the hidden rule. You don't break Lynn's rules. Right, Rebecca?
Well, it's like this. They say later, you can break all the rules you want. You just can't get caught.
That's right. True. That's right. The crime is getting caught. But anyway, they all get back, and they talk about. And I'm sorry, Maria's talking about how she's gonna get everything under control. She's gonna take care of this. She has an idea, she has a plan, but she tells them not to worry, essentially. Just get back to your dorms, just pretend like it never happened. She thanks Willie for coming back, and Willie is like, y'all are my people, and they have a big bonding moment, and they're all happy, and they go their separate ways. And now Maria is left with just Marcus, and they're having their own same talk. And she's talking about how she kind of used him to get to Chico. Not necessarily that she didn't like him, but she was going to kill Chico anyway, and he was just a way to do it faster. And they're talking about how they trust each other. And Marcus is apparently trusting Maria till the day she dies, or to the day he dies, rather. Which is ridiculous for Marcus to say, as he cheated on her before, and also just kind of insinuated that she didn't want to be together with her. It feels like a lot, and then they immediately go in for a kiss. And now we get Saya looking at them, and she doesn't look happy. Can't be for sure why, though, right now. You can have ideas, but, anyway, Maria eventually goes to see Master Lin, and she's invited to see all the tea. She has tea with him, and she's trying to tell him about her guilty conscience.
Mm-hmm.
She's essentially trying to bullshit him into believing that Lex has been the ringleader all along, and now that their dead friend is dead, and she's trying to tell on him to get him saved, but he's already very dead. So anyway, this is where Lynn starts talking about how guilty conscience is not a good thing to have. But guilt itself is important because it tells you that you need to change. And then he offers her the tea that I mentioned before, and he keeps going along about how trust is important because Maria had brought up that she doesn't want to lose his respect by breaking the line of trust and being a narc, but also she cares about her friend's life, which is still her trying to get at blaming Lex for the situation. And this is where Mr. Lin talks about balance and how rules have to be kept in balance with safety of others and safety of yourself. And they talk about how the whole situation with Lex is troubling and how his father's a very important person and that there would be issues if something happened. And this is where Maria gets a little wobbly. I think the tea's starting to hit her. It's poisoned, if you haven't guessed yet. Believe it or not, Master Lin's a smart guy. He can figure out when a bunch of 15-year-olds have snuck off and set fire to a building to kill a fuckface. But I do like, one of the things I did notice, I like how there's a little skull coming out of her tea in the second one down.
I love that. I was like, that's
right.
Cool.
It's such a great one, but he keeps talking about how punishments have to fit crimes. So the crime is always that you were caught, not that you committed anything like misconduct. Like he has rules, but the rules don't apply unless you're caught. And this is where he says Maria earned a failing mark, not only in the execution but the disposal of the body. And he's gonna make an example out of her because he feels like the classmates aren't taking the threats seriously. And after she is fully passed out, the Pale Rider comes in with the mistress of Chico's dead father. I assume she's taking control of the family at this point.
Yeah.
But yes. So essentially, Maria gets handed over. And of course, she asks about Maria's friends, and he says, I will handle them. I discipline my students the right way. He's very much a carrot and a stick kind of guy. Lots of stick, though. Extra pointy. But that's how the second issue ends, with them coming to collect Maria.
Like we said earlier, this volume is so disrespectful.
Yeah.
They gave Maria
Really?
all this cool action, all this cool like character development, and then they just like take her out of it. And I'm assuming she's
Almost
either
immediately
dead, but more likely she's coming back in a later volume. But so disrespectful.
And
then we get into Marcus in this issue, who is also just like Marcus is so annoying in this volume.
Show.
Yeah. I'll say this though, I really loved, I think it's some of my favorite stuff with Maria, just because I love the fact that like throughout the entirety of like the action that's going on with her, you can like feel her anger of like how much she's been waiting to like enact revenge on like what Diablo did to her and her family. Like, I'm a sucker for revenge stories, so I love that's some of my favorite stuff in this whole arc, especially when she keeps reminding us that like I'm reminding not just Marcus and like us like reading it, but also like she told Diablo that like she always planned to kill Chico in an effort to eventually get to him. So like it's not like she was like, you know, yeah, like even though she was gonna kill Chico just suddenly out of circumstance, no, she planned this for a while. And it's just like the fact that like it's finally happening, like you can kind of see like her anger, her kind of like her twisted like bit of like happiness when how the way she eggs on Chico's dad, like, oh, like I'm gonna come for you, like just like I came for your son, I'm gonna come for your cart, I'm gonna come for your crew, I'm gonna come for your mistress. I'm like it's I thought it was really interesting, and like the fact that like, you know, her crazy ass thought that she could cover it up, cover all of it up just like that.
I
just, like,
really don't
wild.
know how they thought they could cover it up from an assassin school.
Exactly my point. Come on.
I regularly forget that these children are 15 years old.
Yeah, they're only 15. They're doing through like so much shit, and like
right,
and so when like she gets poisoned by Lynn, like even when I read this book this volume the first time like a while ago, I wasn't surprised. I'm like, he's the principal of a fucking deadly art school. Like, come on.
Well, they also aren't exactly subtle when they like try to kill someone.
That's true.
There's always an explosion.
For being assassins, they're kind of shit at keeping attention away.
Yeah, they're very reckless. They're very reckless.
They did throw a grenade in the middle of the street, and honestly, I think that's the pinnacle of stealth.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, I thought this volume was really cool. Was really good. I think this is like the most shining stuff for Maria. I do also agree though with Rebecca that yeah, it's kind of wild. Like they just do all this crazy awesome stuff with her, and then it's just taken away.
It's just so disappointing. And again, I'm assuming she's gonna come back because this is a comic book and we don't see her die technically, but I don't actually know. But it really feels like they like cut her off right before she could like finally be her own person.
Right? It feels like they were setting her up to be like a player, like as a leader of a gang.
Yeah.
Like fully a leader of one, like the Latino faction in the school. I forget what they're called.
They say the cartel.
The cartel.
But yeah, it does seem that way, especially last volume, like toward the end when she talked about how like when Syfy screwed her over by like sleeping with Marcus. And just no, even Marcus, when Syfy and Marcus both screwed her over. Sorry, it's not just Syfy. How like she wanted to be like, you know, more independent and not rely on everyone else but only herself. So like it is kind of disappointing that like yeah, like it's she seemed more independent, but then it gets cut off, you know, due to like, you know, her getting taken by Chico's mistress and her brother at the end. But I mean, we'll see later on what happens with her. I mean, it's kind of it's there. It's important. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say.
I just know they're gonna do her dirty.
I mean, we'll see.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah, neither am I. Yeah. All right. So we'll just move on to issue 14. So yeah, Demoan. I think you got issue 14, Demoan. I think it was you.
Yes, right. This is still me. This is a fun cover. I like the color scheme here. I like this one a little bit more than the last one.
I think this is the best cover we've had this volume.
Yeah, that's what I was.
I love the purple.
It's either this one or the first one. I love them falling off the path for the first one. But it's between those two for me. But I love the color scheme for this one. Them sitting in front, they're just looking like general delinquents. It's always fun. But yeah, so good cover. And we started the story. They immediately skip 2 months in the future when we pick back up. They tell us that Maria has run away and just disappeared in the middle of the night. So obviously they didn't tell everyone at the school that the cartel came and picked her up. So Marcus and the gang are feeling a little abandoned right now, especially Marcus, because he put faith in her and trusted her, and all of a sudden she's gone, just like everyone else in his life. In fairness, it's not
like heated over here. How are you gonna say you put trust in her, girl? You cheated on her. Oh my god. I hate Marcus this volume. He's so annoying.
Marcus is a little bitch this volume. Because he is constantly on something this volume. He's smoking a cigarette right now. He's taking speed and alcohol, and he's going actually to see a show in the city with Billy. So he's driving out there. They stole a Camaro apparently, which is crazy. But when he gets to the club, he starts wrecking shit because this 15-year-old has a temper, and he's on a whole mess of drugs right now.
He's mixing. I think he said he mixed speed with alcohol. I was like, Jesus.
Uppers and downers and anger problems. I don't think those three things mix. But anyway, we see that he left the club. Obviously, they wouldn't let him stay there, and he's just waiting for the train back. So he's sitting writing in his journal. While he's writing in his journal, some homeless lady comes and takes an anaconda dump right next to him. He describes it as.
That was one of the highlights of this volume. Was like, I never heard anyone call that anaconda taking a shit like an anaconda before. Wow.
I just think it's wild that I understand it's a comic, but someone had to think that, oh, we should just have someone shitting and then walking past him in this comic segment. That'll set the tone,
baby. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, it's true. You never see a homeless man shit on the side of the sidewalk. Like, come on.
Yeah, you're right. I just haven't been looking hard enough. But anyway, and this is when Marcus says and on his ride back, he says a line that just oozes, emo vibes, really intense. Real sad boy energy all the time. He specifically says he needs a new girl to lie to him, to tell her that she'll be there no matter what.
Oh my god.
And I thought to myself when I read that, wow, this man is
cringe.
Yeah, should be in therapy forever probably at this point. It's rough watching him talk about how he needs someone in his life to like make him whole, and how like he doesn't really feel that he can do it himself, or that he's like pining over like Saya, who just doesn't pay him any mind. He's really depressing after Maria's left, but he talks about how the letter that she left was incredibly confusing. It was utterly nonsense, like she was kind of a stranger, just a crazy person leaving. And that's when we get him talking to his boy, Willie, that, fuck Maria. She left. It's bullshit. She just wanted to get shit stirred with Chico, man. And she came between me and Saya. She knew what we had going was good. They had nothing going, him and Saya.
Nothing. No.
Nothing. Nothing. She pledged for him at the school, but that's it. And he's upset. No, I mean they were friends. They were friends.
They were friends.
They were a little more than friends. For
a little more than friends.
You know what? That's true.
You could tell a little bit. You could tell off rip that, like, especially in the first volume, that him and Saya had a connection or like a little bit of a spark from day one, and then obviously that kind of cemented it that they had a thing for each other when they had sex last volume. So, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But it's just, she didn't seem interested in a relationship with him, even though she seemed interested in him.
Mm-hmm.
From my perspective. But anyway, he calls Willie. He's telling her all this information about how fuck Maria. Saya was the one for me. I don't know why I ever started pursuing Maria. She just got in the middle of a good thing. And I'm going to grow some balls and I'm going to tell Saya I love her tonight. And that's when our boy Willie puts down the phone, and the boy that's been waiting asks, "Are you done yet?" And he's like, "Not sure." As if he's thinking about doing something with the phone after. But then we cut to Marcus and Saya in a diner, and they're just kind of in general talking about music, talking about like best albums by Agent Orange, that kind of stuff. Just having a general discussion. And eventually it gets to the point where it's like, hey, play this song at my funeral. And Saya's like, why the fuck do you think I'm going to be at your funeral? And that's where Marcus just kind of spills it. He says he loves her, tells her how desperately he wants her, tells her the angst of a 15-year-old boy with nothing to lose, telling a girl that he loves her. And it sounds really sad, and I'm glad they didn't write out the actual words he said and just gave us footnotes.
Yeah, that was a blessing, honestly.
That was a blessing. But anyway, Sias goes, wow, that's heavy shit, man. Your friend also told me that he loved me just seconds ago. Pretty much the same thing. But I don't want to get between you guys, so I'm not going to date either one of you. So this is where we find out that when Willie said he wasn't sure if he was done with the phone, that he was actually thinking about calling back to talk to Saya. He had called Saya on the phone and beat Marcus to the punch.
He did him kind of dirty, but also Marcus deserves it. Fuck Marcus.
He does. Yeah.
It's true.
Muppets, you can't have your cake and eat it too, my G. Like, come on.
He really got a warning that he was going to tell Saya tonight, and Willie was immediately calling Saya, though, which I think is a little funny.
I think it's also a little out of left field because I don't think we've ever seen like Saya and Willie interact up to this point.
That's true. Yeah, it kind of caught me off guard.
They seemed to have insinuated that the 2-month span, they had gotten kind of close. Because she talks about how they'd gotten close lately, and I just had to assume it was in that 2-month span.
Yeah, probably.
Between where Maria just disappeared. Well, she disappeared for real, but she was stolen. But yeah. But anyway, so now Marcus is even more sad because the girl he confessed to said no. So of course, he goes into extra sad boy mode, and he's talking about like, what did I expect, that anyone could ever love me? Do I suffer from grass is always greener syndrome? Pining at my chance for Saya, talking about, and then he finally gets to, did I actually love either of them? And this is the line that hits me every time, because like I said earlier, I just genuinely forget they're 15-year-olds. He says, maybe when you're 15, every girl you're into feels like love. And that is, wow.
Is it
That's
accurate?
certainly a line that a 15-year-old would write.
Is it accurate?
Taylor Swift said it better in her song 15, but okay.
Is it accurate? Yeah.
For him, at least.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's been betrayed by his best friend. The girl he thought he was in love with and wanted told him no. And he's realizing that the only reason Willie actually told her is because he realized that he was going to get beat to the punch. Mm-hmm. And this is when he realizes, hey, I should just not hang out with anyone. I can just be a loner. And this is where his loner origins start, really, for his ideas of becoming a loner start.
This is his loner arc. Like the next couple of issues.
Can we go back to issue 1, where Marcus was like, oh, all friendship is just transactional. And I was like, I don't need friends. Shut up. I'm tired of it.
But anyway, so they keep talking, and we get to this point where Billy and Marcus are on the roof, and Marcus is high in the middle of the day. He's got his undershirt, and Billy's talking about all the scars. And Marcus is saying, like, oh yeah, I got the scars from the boys' home, but also myself as like a form to take control back. And this is where Willie and Saya kind of come up, and they're like, hey, I wanted to talk. We haven't like seen each other in a while. And Marcus is like, yep, intentional. And it's like, hey, man, I get it. It's out of hand. But you're doing drugs at lunch. Why don't you just talk to us? And he's like, oh, what is it? After school special? Oh, so you guys just give a fuck about me now. You betrayed me before, but now all of a sudden you care. And this is where he directly blames Willie for the death of Lex. He's like, hey, if you had been watching your post and hadn't been snuck up on, Lex would not have died. And he cracks him across the face. Mm-hmm. And he's like, hey, Lex died because of you. No one can trust you, Willie. You're a disappointment. You're not reliable. And he pulls back at that point to hit Willie again, but he accidentally hits Billy. And he's like, hey, tell him the truth, Willie, that you haven't even killed anyone. Well, he insinuates it, but he doesn't actually go through and say it yet. He's like, no one's ever been surprised. You got Lex killed, though, but you can't kill a hobo. And if it were up to you, Chico would have curb stomped my skull. And he talks about, like, essentially that Willie's unreliable.
Yeah, and a coward.
But we see right now our big Russian friend is hiding in the shadows watching all of this. Mm-hmm.
Victor.
That's right. He's found some very, very interesting dirt on them. And that's what he's going to use that later. But anyway, he goes back to his room. He crashes for the night, and he starts talking about this story that his father told him about how you always that life's gonna come at you like a wave, crashing over you, and it's coming no matter what. So you got to find a way to ride the wave. You got to find a way to enjoy it. Just enjoy life. And he talks about how he never found a way to enjoy life the way his father had. How he would follow his father to the beach and watch him surf, but he had never learned to catch the wave himself. He was still miserable, and now his father was dead and unable to teach him how to no longer be miserable. And then we next cut to, after we talk about his dream, we cut to the cafeteria where he meets Petra. Petra notices that he's all of a sudden all alone, and he's like, yeah, my friends abandoned me. I wouldn't share my fries. Hey, all friends become enemies. And she's like, friendships end. Don't be so dramatic. I really like Petra. Petra tells him he's just a dramatic little bitch a lot, which he is.
She's very straight up with him all the time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she's also oddly pretentious in her own way, it seems, but different. It seems to temper Marcus, which is nice.
Yeah, well, she kind of recognizes that she's pretentious. Marcus doesn't.
Yeah,
that's true. But anyway, she invites Marcus to a party, and they show up at the party, and he brings his roommate, Shabman. I always have struggle pronouncing his name, but the one who got beat up in the shower in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes. So Shabman, he brought her, familiar face. But anyway, they're all hanging out. They're watching skateboard videos. And Shabnan tells Marcus about this girl across the room that he has a huge crush on. So, of course, Marcus, knowing this, decides to play a prank on him and get him to drink the bong water to impress everybody. As one might be able to expect, he throws it up immediately, and everyone laughs at him. And Marcus feels pretty proud for having made everyone laugh at the expense of Shabnan, like the fucking dick Marcus is.
He literally says he's like, it felt good to make them laugh at him. Everyone kicks the dog. I was like, wow, like that's like and the fact, and also it's just like the fact that like he knew that Shabman was so desperate to have everyone love him, like him, that like, and to get to Kelly's attention, that he to drinking bong water was something okay that people wanted to see, like. And the fact that he did it so he could just have some power and control over something, and by having people make fun laugh at this kid, I was like, wow, that's so low. That's such you're so man. I'm not as angry as Rebecca,
he is.
but he did set me off a bit while I was reading this book.
He set me off a bit too. I didn't like him in this book much. Marcus was a bad person in character in this volume.
Yeah.
But anyway, he approaches Petra at the end of the party, and he's like, "Hey, misery loves company," and she's like, That's a stereotype. Not all goths are miserable. I'm actually just angry." And she talks about all the stuff she's angry at, and Marcus says, "Oh, well, I'm just sad. A little angry, but mostly sad." And she talks about, "Oh, are you mad about Syfy and Maria?" Because on the way here, Marcus had thought it would be a good idea to just unload on this girl about everything that had just happened to him. Mm-hmm. Because he doesn't know why he feels okay around her. Like, she's above all of this. Like, he can trust her. This boy is so broken. He wants to trust everybody right away. And I think that's partly part of the reason why so many people break his trust. Because he puts trust in people who don't necessarily deserve it a lot. But anyway, she goes on talking about how, like, high school, you'll break up with everyone in high school. Those relationships, Maria and Syfy, you just won't remember them when you're 30 and have kids and doing whatever the fuck you're doing. And he says, "Yeah, you're probably right." And that's when it just kind of blacks out for him. And then he wakes up in a room with foil on the windows, a futon, and a ferret in the corner. He says this is a recipe for trouble. All the signs of it. And he thinks that he slept with Petra last night. Unfortunately for him, he looks over and he sees it's not Petra. It's the girl Shabnan had a crush on. The one that he refers to as the troll. So he is not happy with himself. He says he's falling down a dark hole, and that each day is getting worse and worse, and that he's just going to be happy to be alone from now on. But one thing that he does realize as he's coming out of this hole, and it's because of something Maria said, something Petra said, when she was having the talk about how she wouldn't care about Maria and whatnot, like 10 years in the future. He had mentioned something about Maria's disappearance being strange, and that it might not have been her running away, but rather something happening to her. And at this point, he's like, I gotta figure out what happened to Maria. And I know it was fucking Syfy. Syfy definitely was the one who got Maria. So I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna blame her, and he's gonna do everything he can to get revenge somehow. But he sees Willie and Syfy walking through the school, talking about music, and the story ends with the two of them walking past Marcus the issue ends with the two of them walking past Marcus at his locker, saying how, I want to take you to a show tonight, and that they're glad that they had fun at the last show they went to. And that's how the issue 3 ended for this volume, 14 rather.
And this is the moment where I was like, Marcus, you fucking idiot! What?
He fumbled that bag so hard.
Oh my god!
Truly,
the fact that this man is so jealous that freaking Billy got the girl and he didn't, is the fact that he's gonna connect Maria's supposed murder or disappearance or murder to Syfy, the girl that won't give him a lick of attention. It's just
it's so sad.
It's just
I feel like it also, I forget exactly what she says in volume 1, but what Maria's saying about how guys want what they can't have, basically. Because when he couldn't have Maria, he was super upset about it, even though he didn't even like her that much.
What?
And then he immediately went back to wanting Syfy when she rejected him.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was like. Maria called it from the very beginning, unfortunately.
But yeah, I thought this issue was pretty cool. I thought it was good. I do agree with Demoan. I think I do like Petra a lot in this issue. I like that she gets a lot more development in this issue from rather than like all the stuff we've seen her win before. I like how just like her, even though Marcus isn't really our favorite right now, I do like her interactions with Marcus and how she kind of like is very blunt and abrupt and abrupt about what she thinks of him, and how he knows that he's kind of like being very self-destructive, and I just like that a lot. What else? Marcus, no bueno, bro. He keeps every fumbling the bag. He is like the fact that he is again kind of like going on a downward spiral due to dumb high school bullshit is very funny. His stuff with I do feel like at this point, why it's good that no one's friends with him right now, because he's not letting things go. He's just he's causing problems, and
he's strung out all the time. He's a dickhead, and like he's not likable to begin with.
So there's that. Like this issue, it was good, and it's just mostly just like it's just Marcus's downward spiral. This is the entire issue, and it's just like does he deserve it? Yes.
But honestly, this whole series is Marcus's downward spiral.
That's true. But this is him just being more and more of an asshole, though. Like he literally sleeping with Shabnam's crush, messing with Shabnam, the stuff with Billy, the stuff with Saya. He also hit Billy by mistake while he was like on his rage moment and didn't even notice. And now he's pinning Saya's disappearance on Saya as a result of I guess what happened between the three of them is kind of just bullshit and dumb.
Well, we see it more in the next issue. He's becoming increasingly paranoid.
Yeah, which again was kind of foreshadowed in the previous volume, because they remember kind of established that Marcus was a paranoid person to begin with. So, it kind of makes sense in that regard. But this issue was cool. It was a cool issue, and but Marcus right now, no bueno. But does anyone have any more thoughts before we move on?
Not for this issue.
All right, so we're going to move on to issue number 15, and I'm going to be covering them. Thoughts on this cover? I think it's
kind of boring.
Yeah, it's a simple cover, but I don't. If I walked past this in a comic book shop, I wouldn't really be grabbing it. You know what I mean?
I also think because of how they use native space in this, where her arm is, it makes her proportions look kind of weird.
When I first looked at this, I couldn't tell that bottom part was supposed to be her hand, and I just thought she was missing parts of herself.
She was just missing these, she was missing limbs.
I couldn't nail down what the proportions were when I was looking at it at first.
But that's all I'm gonna cover. I thought it was all right. But so this issue basically starts off with kind of what Rebecca teased mentioned just a bit ago, where Marcus is essentially becoming very paranoid and was trying to get to the bottom of Saya's supposed killing of Maria, and he's doing this by stalking them everywhere they go, as well as getting a gun and using a Bush election poster, a George H.W. Bush election poster as target practice. Basically planning on pretty much assuming that he's going to kill Maria for kill Saya for what she supposedly did to Maria. And I'm just like, not a good look, Marcus. Not a good look. Transitions to the following night, where Marcus is in Billy's room, and he basically is appreciative, listen, I'm sorry about what happened yesterday when I smacked the fuck out of you by accident. But I need to tell you, I need to tell you what I'm thinking. And he goes down the plot of like, yeah, I think that Saya is responsible for Maria's disappearance. That they believe that she killed her, and you know it's and it makes sense because you know at the fuckface manor they fought each other, and Maria told me the reason why, and I think because of all that happened with me and Maria and Saya, that Saya killed her out of spite. I don't know. It's just dumb. It's just him being dumb, and he's being a dumb and paranoid, damaged 15-year-old. And Billy's like, okay, hold on a minute, like slow the fuck down. Like, do you even know what you're saying? And this is when Marcus gets even more paranoid when he's just like, but here's the thing though, it's not just Maria. It's the whole idea of this freaking school. He's like, what do you mean? So he goes down this rabbit hole where he's just like, okay, hear me out, right? Like freshman graduation is coming up, like the end of freshman year. And like, you know, and I think like something bad's about to go down. I feel like Saya knows it. Like she just knows it. And he's like, and he poses a question, Billy, do you ever wonder why, every freshman class has their class cut in half, like the junior, the juniors and the seniors, like the current seniors had like 10, and then like the current juniors have 20, cut from their classes. And he's like, here's the thing, right? Even more weird is like, why, like it's divisible numbers. It's like, but like, why are we here? Like we killed your dad like a while ago, so therefore the mom isn't paying your tuition, and also like I'm here for free. Like, why am I here for free? It makes no sense. And then he's just like, listen, Marcus, like you're losing your mind. Like
it's a charity school.
It's probably just nothing. Like, don't worry about it. Just listen. If you want my advice, like, stop doing drugs, get your shit together, and just keep it moving. And
Marcus really does need to get clean for a while.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And it's just like, you know, it's just you know, and Marcus isn't listening, and he's convinced that like this is the stuff that's actually happening because he's so paranoid about everything. And yeah, so it cuts to the next him walking out into the graveyard, where you know he's walking around. And also forgot to mention that Billy mentions that he shouldn't talk about this to Sai because Sai is probably going to kill him if he does. So yeah, so it cuts to Marcus meeting Sai at the graveyard, and he basically just goes on a rant about, you know, how he knows that she killed Saya, and that Saya killed Maria, and that he knows that she's up to something, and her immediate response is punching Marcus in the face, and basically talking about, like, hey, if you ever say that shit again, I'll kill you. Do you understand? And he's like, you're weak, you're poisonous, stay away from us, and like you're completely on your own from here on out. So yeah, establishing that Marcus is ruining every friendship that he has, and yeah, it's just going wild. And he does, and while after this entire confrontation, he just does a line of cocaine and sees that clown from the Vegas acid trip issue. So yeah, so transitions to Petra and Marcus at the.
You see, yeah, I think this is what Rebecca was saying before, how this could all be part of the same acid trip.
You know the like coma theories? The whole story could just be one long acid trip.
That's true. It could be.
Oh, that'd be a fun one.
Yeah. Would it be disappointing though if like the entire comic, the entire series was just an acid trip and like nothing actually happened? Like, I'd be a little sad.
Like that's
a little bit.
Series is they're fucking stupid.
Yeah. But yeah, so it transitions to Petra and Marcus watching the jocks play basketball from the bleachers, and Marcus is literally going on about how much he hates jocks and how like it's just, and how like the popular kids ain't shit, and freaking Petra's kind of just telling him to just shut up and just, you know, just keep it moving. And while this is happening, Victor comes up to Marcus and basically tells him that, yeah, I overheard all the shit that you said because you've been losing your fucking mind and just spouting like very secretive information aloud. And
yeah,
so
he's just been yelling it a lot.
Yeah, so I know that, you know, that that like you're all the reasons why Lex is dead, and that Chico and Chico's death, and the stuff with Maria and the cartel. And listen, so here's the thing, right? Like, I'm gonna give you a little bit of an ultimatum. Either you turn yourself in, you turn your friends in, or I'm gonna turn y'all in myself and to go to Master Lin. And he's giving them 2 days to do it, which again which makes Marcus obviously way more paranoid. So it transitions to let me see if I got that. Oh, I don't got that there. So yeah, it transitions to Marcus at a party with Petra, and he kind of goes on a very crazy acid trip.
Shrooms this time.
Yeah, on shrooms this time, not acid. Shrooms.
It's a very different experience.
Yeah, it's all natural. And he basically, while on this acid trip, he literally is just him being chased down by President Ronald Reagan in a Soviet Union astronaut costume, and he's just losing his freaking mind. And he's also seeing like images of Maria and like his dead mom, and it's just, I didn't really read much of it because I don't think really that is. I didn't think this was that much important, but just kind of just cementing the whole downward spiral that like Marcus is going on. But I will say this though, that Reagan is talking about how like how he planned on like the stuff that all that shit happening in Nicaragua, which led to Marcus coming to the States in the first place, and how he'd do whatever it takes to make sure that no one ever fucks with the United States. It's just kind of wild. It's kind of just wild and messed up.
Yeah.
But it transitions to while he's like on this trip, Petra is basically telling him like, listen man, like relax, like you're not making any sense. And literally just like and she's basically that she's trying to comfort him and tell him that like that they got each other, and basically like he ends up kissing her, and therefore they start making out, and right next to this guy on the couch, and they end up having sex. And
not on the couch.
Not on the couch.
To a bed.
They transitioned to a bed where they were like presented to a bed, and basically they just talk about like a particular like meaning of like a Journey song that like Petra likes, which he ends up like admitting like, oh fuck, you got me to think. I like that moment, like, oh, you got me to think deep about a Journey song, gross. And yeah, she mentions how he's like, like when you were tripping about like your mom, he's like is she dead? It's like, yeah, like both my mom and my dad are gone. And then he talks about how like my mom was very quiet and like was not like my dad. Like my dad was very preachy, and she was the exact opposite. But there was only one time where she ever gave me advice, and it basically was her saying, and you kind of see it in this page here with her acid trip, with her shroom trip spirit being like, there's no time for pause. Don't let yourself get trapped. Rush life like a yellow light. Transitions to the next morning where you see Marcus going to the fridge, and you see Kendall, Gabe, who is one of Willie's homies from the First World Order, and that other random guy that noticed them making out on the couch, and basically was talking about how Kendall's just gossiping and talking about how like I hear rumors that Willie's a punk, and that he hasn't really done shit, and while and then Marcus kind of goes along with that, he's a liar, not really realizing it, and basically was just like saying he reveals that Billy's rep was bullshit to in Gabe's presence and doesn't realize it, and then Gabe walks out being like, oh fuck, that's some bullshit, like I'm gonna have a word with Willie when later and talk about it, because he pretty much made Willie's worst nightmare come to life, and it's really messed up. So then while on the couch, Kendall's basically talking about how they listen, man, like he's like the girl who gave up looking for someone who could never be kinder. He's basically kind of like predicting like he's basically talking about like the previous events of like what happened in the book, kind of like low key, and he basically like is telling Marcus, listen, man, it's all good. Like you kind of did the good thing, revealing like Willie's rep, because he ended up like taking your girl and stuff, and like that's not okay. And it's just him egging. It's just him just like egging, like kind of like spinning Marcus's, like wrapping Marcus on his finger a little bit. Mm-hmm. So yeah, transitions to.
I also want to bring up a weird point that he brings up, that he specifically talks about how a lot of the women were broken, and that he says he treated Maria too nice, which I don't think that's at all what he did to Maria.
No. It's exact opposite.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think it's crazy that he's making these assertions.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it transitions to class the following day, and basically it's just like, yeah, like it's just it's during the self-defense class with Master Zane, and he's basically just talking about how and Master Zane's talking about how, like, the idea of like, how friendships kind of like, hold you back, and like the fact that like, the idea of like friendships and stuff makes you like kind of weak in a way in terms of in the work of like an assassin, and that is like, it's like friends do not last, neither will you if you trust your life to them, and they will be the ones who kill you. And then you see Victor kind of looking at Marcus being like, hey, I know your shit. Like I'm gonna fuck you up. Look at this. He's egging him on, and then you hear a scream in the distance. You see Victor open the door, and we see Gabe from earlier. How can I put this? Murdered onto the school's flagpole. Like he's literally like bleeding out while like he's like and basically like had his body tied to a flag post.
I assume he's being hung up by his own intestines. I'm not gonna lie to you there.
Oh yeah, I didn't even realize. I thought it was rope. Nah, it's coming out from his stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Lord, yeah. And basically, just like someone's like the person, the student that found him is like, why would anyone do this? And then literally is like, like if you ask me, someone's sending a message, and it's definitely a loud one, and it points to Marcus looking directly at Billy and Saya while they look directly back at him, and that's how issue 15 ends. So it's all on issue 15, people.
I wonder if Willie was the actual one to kill him.
I don't buy it.
I don't think so.
I think that's cool if he was the one to do it, but I don't think his character's there yet.
No, he's not a murderer.
Especially when he has Saya to do it for him.
That's true. That's true. Like the thing is, like if Billy did do it, I don't think it makes sense to me, because knowing Willie as a character and how much of a pacifist he is, it doesn't make sense that for like he's gonna kill someone just to send Marcus a message. Like, nah, it doesn't. Like, Willie seems like the type of just keep it moving, even though him and Marcus aren't on good terms. So, and plus Rebecca's right. If Willie was gonna kill Marcus, he would just or make a message like that. He would just let Saya do it. Because Saya actually has the stomach to kill people. So, but yeah. Wait, any more thoughts on this issue? Any thoughts? What you think? What's going on?
I don't have a ton of thoughts on this issue. I thought the shroom sequence was cool visually, but I don't really fully understand what it means.
Yeah. Maybe Wes Cragen remembers using that to as someone, maybe it's gonna foreshadow later on. That'd be kind of hilarious if it did. It would just foreshadow like that entire shroom sequence actually had repercussions in volume 8 or something like that. It actually meant something. I
would have to reread it again because I couldn't tell you one line they said in that without looking.
Yeah, I honestly, that's why I kind of glossed over it, is because I literally just when I was reading, I was like, I don't think this is important.
They talked a lot about the United States wanted to stop sharing.
Yeah.
And sharing was they didn't want people sharing south of our border because then people might share in the United States. Mm-hmm. I think it was a big talk about American individualism, and how that was something that they were striving toward. rather than community within the states that would have benefited more people.
Yeah, and I want to point this out. He said to protect that idea of like having people not share America. He's like to protect that and kill 1 million mommies. He's like, I'd fuck your mama's dead corpse to keep our good ideals safe. The ends justify as much blood as it takes. I'm just like, that's something that Reagan would say.
That feels very Reagan.
That's Reaganism at its finest, I guess.
I mean, you can argue that's stuff Reagan did, so.
That's true. Yeah. So,
I mean, he talked about how, because that's the reason that they were even in Nicaragua, because they wanted to stop sharing.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, this issue I think is pretty good. Again, more showcasing Marcus's paranoia, Marcus being convinced that like everything, not just his relationship with his beef with Saya and all that, like his suspicion of Saya, it is like bothering him, but also like that kind of like why are him and like Billy and like some of the other rats there because they don't even pay tuition, like this, like and the fact that like he's even more put to think that like Saya knows what's going on, and it kind of makes sense why you think that because she's a higher up legacy kid, like so it makes sense, but we'll see what entails with that. But yeah, I think everything else is really good. And stuff with him and Victor, egging Marcus on about like using the blackmail with the information he just learned is like really cool. And yeah, the whole reveal that like when Marcus kind of confirms the rumor that Willie's lying about his rep is true, and how messed up that is. It's just is kind of again cementing Marcus as a shitty person.
I like
he really didn't have to.
As he says it, he immediately knew who fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he didn't have to out him like that. He could have just said he was on drugs.
Yeah. I don't even think he was really aware of what he did at all because he was still on shrooms and shit. So,
he could have just said he was on drugs and didn't know what he was talking about. That's it.
That's true. That people, whenever you say something fucked up or reveal a secret you shouldn't have revealed, just say that you're on drugs. It works.
You should actually be on drugs when you say it, though. Otherwise, people might call your bluff.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I thought this issue was.
Don't do drugs, though. Drugs are bad, kids.
Yeah, drugs are bad. We don't endorse drugs on the Indie Corner. Right, Demoan? Right, Rebecca?
Yes.
I've never done a drug in my life.
All right. But yeah, I guess we'll just move on to the last issue because I don't really have anything else to say. Yeah. So issue number 16, people. This cover wasn't bad actually. I actually like it.
Yeah, I like it too. It's not my favorite, but I like it.
Yeah, the whole and it showcases like how Marcus, the current like status of the gang, I guess, in this issue, like the photo. The photo booth photo getting ripped up by like all types of razors and like bladed weapons. I think I like it. It makes sense. Very metaphorical. But yeah, this issue starts off with Kendall and Marcus in the locker room showers, and it's basically just
Also, I absolutely love the amount of Kendall or the amount of drama that Kendall starts.
Yeah, and it makes sense because like. In terms of like the high school cliquey stuff, because he's a prep.
CIA.
Yeah, because he's a prep, so like preps gossip and all that stuff in typical high school cliques, I guess. So, and the fact that like he's a kid from like the CIA, FBI kid, so like it makes sense why he would just like spread rumors around and also talk about other like he has a lot of info that may or may not be true. So I like that a lot. So that's a good point to make, Demoan. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like he's basically like talking to Marcus, and Marcus is basically just being like, he's like, hey, it's a kind of, and it's and he's the first thing that kind of mentions like it's kind of a coincidence that like the guy who you confirmed this rumor to literally gets eviscerated onto a flagpole. Like it seems kind of connected, and there's like and Lily is like, he's like, listen, like believe it or not, like I'm trying to like help you see like I like you describe like the depths of the diarrhea whirlpool that you dove into. Like the shitstorm that Marcus kind of brought on himself, and again he's going on another rumor that like Saya is like is kind of like wants to kill him, is going to kill him for snitching on Willie, and and also the fact that like Shabnam, who he describes as the little fat penguin, is like actually the real villain of like the real villain of everything around King's Dominion, and the fact that he's been like planting seeds to then like kind of like make himself be on top in a way. And he describes him as like he calls him he's a cob he calls him as like a cobblepot, as in referring to like the penguin. And and the fact that like the most important that like Shabnam has his sights on him, which Marcus doesn't believe because like he rooms with Shabnam. He knows that like he's a very like he's kind of a wimp and like lets people step on him, so he doesn't buy it at all. And he's telling him this because it's not easy to just stand by and watch like someone like ever like someone like drowning themselves. And plus like he realized that like he'd be owing him a favor. And he also tells him to look down at his junk because he should get that rash looked at because it looks like herpes. So yeah, and then it transitions to Marcus walking outside, walking outside of the school, headed to the clinic. And he's saying that like Victor he's realizing that he has Victor, Shabnam, Willie, and Saya to deal with, and he has to calm down, compartmentalize.
Don't forget herpes.
And the herpes, yeah, right. Sorry, the herpes. And he has to he has to be smart about how to go about these various like obstacles he's dealing with, and that he has to take care of it one at a time. And while it's happening, he runs into Saya and Willie. Which he mentioned that like he noticed that like that they've been watching him like, and the fact that like they're not really good at shadowing because he can see him the entire time. And he realized like I made a mistake, I'm sorry. And Saya's just like come on Billy, he drags him away and is like we'll be seeing you, Marcus. And then you see Victor be like, yeah, I'll be seeing you too. He's like, next, remember, time is almost up. And yeah, it's again planting those seeds of like those various problems Marcus has to deal with. So it transitions to the actual clinic, where Marcus is basically talking about how like he feels but he feels terrible about everything that's happening to him, and like if they kill him, it's all over. But if they don't, he'll just have to live with herpes and dick sores forever. And while he's doing this, he notices this cute girl on the line and just be like, oh, like. It's very weird where it's like, maybe she has herpes. Maybe
he attaches to every slightly attractive girl he sees
exactly.
To an unhealthy level.
Down real bad.
Honestly, like he's down real bad to the point where like he's thinking like maybe if she has herpes, we're in the same league, and maybe they can be like in a herpes league, and they can like get married and have herpes covered children. And it's like what is happening?
I love that somewhere along the line though he decided that they probably figured out a way to not have the children have herpes.
Yeah, like by the time I'm an adult, they probably fixed that problem. So, yeah. So he goes to the doctor. No, actually, no. But before he ends up at the doctor, it's revealed like she actually like doesn't have herpes. She's actually going to get her HIV medication refilled.
Which in the 80s is objectively worse than herpes.
Yeah.
And I call like Rick Remender kind of like sees Marcus's reaction because like obviously in the 80s at the time like the HIV/AIDS was like considered to be the fucking plague. So like it was I like a lot of that little like small detail there. Yeah, while the doctor is checking on Marcus, he basically is like, yeah, like have you been having unprotected sex? He's like, yeah, Maria, Saya, Petra the troll. He's like, who the troll? Oh, is this girl that like everyone calls the troll. I don't call her that. And it's like and then he realized that like he's like, listen, like is it herpes? Like, can you get like what's the situation? He's like, no, it's not really. He's like, or is it actually no? Do I need the AIDS test? And he says, the odds of a straight male getting HIV. He's like, no. He's like, nah. Well, here's what I've just. So the diagnosis that like one of the girls that he recently slept with normally kept her pubic hair shaved, and only she hadn't shaved in a few days, so there's stubble. So basically, he got stuck with a hair follicle infection down there, and he realized that he got it from Petra. And he's like, thank you so much. Thanks, Doc, for telling me that I don't have AIDS. I don't have AIDS. He's like, oh no, don't put your pants on back here. We still gotta swab the inside of your junk to test if you have chlamydia or not. And he's like, I don't care how bad it hurts. I really dodged a bullet. But now he has to dodge a few other bullets coming up. So it transitions to like him limping back to his room, and he's talking to Shabnam, and Shabnam confronts him about hey, like he's like, I know that you like slept with Kelly, knowing that like I'm like she's like the love of my life, and like you really fucked up for that, and like Marcus is really not really putting isn't really like he's putting Shabnam's concern aside because he doesn't really think it's that important until he hears a knock on the door, and it's Kelly revealing that she's pregnant, and they're just like, what? And it's like you freak. It's like, what? And basically, it's like, yeah, like he's like, yeah, like it's not mine. Like I know it's not mine. Like you're bugging out. And he's just like, yeah, like he's like, nah, you think I sleep around? And she's like, basically, like getting mad at Marcus for accusing her of being a slut, and basically,
yeah, because she's a bitch, not a slut.
Yeah, because she's a bitch, not a slut, and you don't want to mess with this. And he's like, you don't want to mess with this bitch. And he's like, it's like you're not a bitch, but you're boring. And he just walks out. And he's like, yeah, and also you're a fucking liar. And it's literally just like, and it just leaves Shabnam and Kelly alone in the room. Transitions to Marcus at a pep. I think not a pep rally, but he's watching the cheerleaders practice. And while this is happening, like he is talking about how like Kelly's not actually pregnant, and the fact that like no way God is that cruel, because like why like he doesn't want to get the troll, like getting the troll pregnant would have been a big problem. And also the fact that like he can't wait to deal with Willie, Sy, and Victor. And then I love this page here where like it's basically like the same 3 panels, but it's just Victor in Marcus's head, portrayed like as like a little like red like kind of silhouette of him, reminding him of this ultimatum that he's made for him. And basically like Marcus is being like, oh yeah, Victor had it all figured out. He like has it all figured out, and the fact that at any moment he could like rat out and he can rat out Willie, Saya, Billy, and all of his friends. And even though like, he's done some fucked up shit, he doesn't want that to happen. So instead of taking option A, which is turn himself in, or option B, turn his friends in, he's gonna go with option C and kill Victor.
This was the only time in the entire run where I'm like, okay, he's made close to the right decision in this issue.
Yeah, and he knows that, like, obviously he knows all the rules. And he knows that it's going to be a big freaking risk if he does it, but he thinks it's worth it in the long run. So
I'm just glad he didn't decide to snitch on his friends.
That's true. Even though Marcus is a piece of shit, he's still loyal. So, yeah.
I don't know if we could call him loyal.
I'm not loyal.
I'm not loyal, but like,
loyal, but
he doesn't want to cause more. He doesn't want to cause any more trouble to his friends than he already has. Any more damage. That makes sense.
That's fair.
But yeah, he's gonna go kill Victor, and it's yay.
Speeds.
So there ends up it transitions to him like going through his plan. Like so like he knows that Victor goes for a morning run in the graveyard, early morning run. So he's gonna probably kill him. So he's planning on killing him there.
So how long do you think he planned on? He only had 2 days notice. So like, has he just noticed that Victor went on a run every morning?
I'm assuming it's something he already knew.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically implied that like he already knew that already knew at Victor's routine just for the sake of like seeing him run.
Okay, that makes sense.
Morning, I guess, when school starts. But yeah, so he basically like has a plan to like go behind a tombstone under in Victor's blind spot when he's running, and then basically shoot him while he gets close enough. And he's about to do that until Master Lin goes on to the.
That's the worst time for an announcement.
Yeah, he goes to the teleprompter for announcement, announces that he's gonna have an that there's a mandatory end of the year orientation for the freshmen in the next 20 minutes, and that attendance is mandatory. And then while he gets distracted, he realizes that Victor's gone far away from like his from his sight lines, and decides to take the shot anyway, and chokes. And it transitions to Victor in the shower, and he ends up meeting with Master Zane and telling him, yeah, listen, make sure to shower quick before the students so you can make it to the meeting on time, the orientation on time, because there will be consequences if you don't go. So Victor assures them that he will. And while the showers are running, Marcus pretty much sneaks up behind Victor and takes the shot, but ends up kind of missing, and he kind of I think he grazes Victor's cheek.
Yeah, the only reason he missed is because Victor was reaching for soap.
Yeah. So yeah, if Victor wasn't getting suds, he would be dead right now. But he's not.
True.
So it ends up, and Victor knows that it's Marcus because obviously he knew that Marcus's clock was ticking. So they end up going into a little scuffle, and Marcus actually he slips on a bar of soap, on the same bar of soap, and then ends up grabbing a knife and he's slashing Victor on his arm, so he starts to bleed. And then he slips again, and then tries to shoot Victor while he's on the run, and ends up missing again. So basically he realized, okay, I can't let Victor get away here, because if he does, I'm getting
told on for sure.
Yeah, he's being told on for sure, and it's gonna get worse for all of his friends. And also, I forgot to mention, while Marcus tried to take the second shot, he ended up killing Master Zane instead. And just thinks nothing. He just keeps it moving because he realizes that Victor getting away is more important. So I think Victor is more important. I think it's so funny.
Being sloppy.
Yeah, true. Very sloppy. And
this is the same issue that Maria had: sloppy execution method.
Exactly. And then while this is while things keep getting, while the plan gets getting worse and worse, and he gets getting more and more sidetracked, he tries to basically compartmentalize in a very paranoid fashion, how he's going to cover it up. So again, Rebecca said, it's getting very increasingly sloppy the more this is happening. So while he's chasing down Victor, he's just basically panicking, like holy fuck, and trying to figure out how he's gonna cover all this up. And he's gonna actually pin Victor Zane's death onto Victor, and actually have put his fingerprints on the gun, and saying that it'll sell. And he's like, yeah, but at the end of the day, while I get all this covered up, I'll make it seem like I was going to prevent Victor from killing anyone else, and that he'll be the hero. And that's when he barges into the door, and he ends up right on time, conveniently, to when the prep to the orientation starts. And Master Lin basically talks about how he's very happy to see that Victor and Marcus made it on time. And I like how Victor's putting on clothes while he's running, and he ends up putting on clothes while he's sitting down, and no one acknowledges that he's bleeding out. So
hey, they're at a mandatory meeting right now. They don't have time for someone bleeding out.
So I want to again remind people that Rebecca has no idea what happens in the next couple of pages. So. All right, Rebecca, you ready to hear this book's gonna end?
I guess my heart's beating a little faster.
Okay. So basically, and I'm gonna try my best not to read it verbatim, just because I love the dialogue that Lynn says the last couple of pages. It's really well done. But yeah. So basically, I might even read it verbatim. Who knows? Yeah, let's do that. So. Lynn was basically talking about how the end of freshman year is a very special time, and the fact that he noticed that they've all worked hard, and have learned so much, and are growing into nice little young adults, and that he provided the best training to the world's finest training of deadly arts, and that that this freshman class is geared to to turn the gears on the world. And but here's the thing, right? You notice that many of you kids have acquired some of the validity of some of the students, and Marcus is looking at Maria, Saya, and Willie, and also Victor's bleeding out, and people are acknowledging it, so it's kind of funny. And they're wondering why some of these questionable students are even here, even though that they no one really pays their tuition, and why some remain after so many infractions that have kept going on with them. And he's like, yeah, like the rats I'm talking about, the rats that killed Chico, the rats that killed Lex, the rats who killed Maria. And he's like, each of you have noticed that you've seen that each rat had been handed the bones of their brothers, and it's a nod to the box of the rat skeleton that Marcus got in the first issue of in the first volume. when he arrived at King's Dominion, and it's like, yeah, you know who they are. It's like, but remember, a rat is virulent and tenacious. It is a tenacious thing. They're survivors, incredibly adaptable and vicious when pushed into a corner. And basically, it's like, yeah, like, you know, if just remember here, people, if a rat survives, you're forever a legacy. But would you risk allowing them in your midst? It's like, so your final exam, the final exam orientation begins now. The moment the lights go out, you have 1 week. Go work together. And when flips the switch, it goes dark and says, "Kill all the rats." And that's how issue 15 ends, and that's how volume 3
They're battle royaling them.
thoughts on issue 16.
I love issue 16 because it kicks off the whole, I guess, final exam, we'll call it.
Yeah.
This is really a fuck around and find out kind of ending.
Yeah. It's like, I'll say this, right? Like, this ending, and especially the next volume, cemented Deadly Class. That's what made that volume, like that. This ending and volume 4 is what cemented Deadly Class as one of my favorite comics ever. Because when I read this the first time, I didn't see it coming at all. Because I always wondered what the actual rat skeletons meant. And the thing is, like, that's why it bothers the shit out of me that we'll never see this in the show, because Rebecca, because we've been watching off camera. People
We watched a couple episodes together, yeah.
We watched the first couple episodes of Deadly Class together, and Billy says this in the first episode where when Marcus receives the rat box, it was just a signifier just to establish that he was a rat, and you know it was the rat bones and the occasional cheese basket.
Cheese basket.
Yeah. So in the seasonal cheese basket that all the rats receive when they come to Kings. So like, the fact that like that's the twist is that no, the rat bones and I guess the seasonal cheese basket was to indicate to all the legacy kids that that these are the kids that you're going to kill to pass to get to sophomore year.
Wait,
like,
so do the freshmen who are the legacy freshmen know going into it that they have to kill all the rats then?
No.
Not necessarily. They might have been told early, but I don't think they would know themselves.
I mean, it's implied. It's implied that they don't know, but actually no. I think it's implied that like some of them do and some of them don't, and then it's like definitely like it's like some kids do and some kids don't, but like I don't think like and it kind of confirms Marcus's suspicions where like he thought that Saya knew what was going on, and also Victor as well. Also, kind of implied it when he's talking about he only has 2 days to figure it out, because like he only 2 days to like rat on his friends because he knew everything was gonna go to shit via the final exam. So
in 2 days, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I assume honestly, I also assume Kendall knew, but I don't know why I assume, but I just assume he does.
Yeah, like so that's what I'm gonna say. I feel like the lower legacy kids don't know. I assume the low legacy kids didn't know, but the higher up legacy kids do.
Yeah, so, like I don't think Maria. It didn't feel like Maria knew what was going on.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this issue.
Although really... I did like that the rats could become legacy characters or legacy students.
Survive. Yeah.
Yes, by surviving.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a fun
how the school. Which kind of makes sense how the legacy kids became legacy in the first place via, I guess, their parents or their previous family members that have gone to Kings. You know what I mean?
It's true.
Yeah, you gotta have the drive to be the rat who lives, I guess.
You gotta be a survivor.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I thought this issue was great. I mean, definitely through the fact that like, you know, it's planting the seeds of like the bomb drop ending. You know, Kendall kind of egging on to Marcus and saying, "Oh yeah, like Saya's after, but also was planning," and also like the fact that he mentioned Shabnam kind of like apparently puppeteering everything, and it's kind of cemented when how it's kind of cemented, I guess, when he confronts Marcus about the situation with Kelly and how, you know. And it's kind of like a drift between their friendship, I guess, or their roommateship. going forward. And yeah, the fact that like the Marcus is like, okay, listen, I'm not gonna like I don't wanna live up to Victor's ultimatum, so I'm just gonna kill Victor and just like try my best to get away with it, even though it's getting sloppier and sloppier to have any chance of covering it all up and him getting away with it. And I think that's really good. And also the best thing about it is the bomb drop at the end with Master Lit revealing what the final exam is, and it's awesome. It's so good. But yeah, Rebecca, now that you know, well, how do you feel about issue 16?
You really had me thinking like a main character is gonna die at the end of this or something.
Yeah.
But I guess that would, if any time, come next volume. I'll just have to wait and see.
That's true. It's not just every main character. anyone who's a rat is at risk.
What do you mean anyone who's a rat? Everyone's at risk. Do you think the rats are gonna let people survive?
I mean, I don't know, man. We'll see. But yeah,
it's
Rebecca,
battle royale shit, dude. Like they're gonna kill each other.
When we get Rick Remender on the podcast for an interview, we're gonna ask him, did you base the 4th volume after Battle Royale?
Maybe he's more a Hunger Games guy. I guess we'll have to ask. But
yeah.
I like this issue. Again, very action-packed, very fast-paced. Again, with Marcus being increasingly paranoid throughout the issue and fucking up at every turn.
Yeah.
Every turn. Emphasis. He didn't do much right this issue.
Yeah.
No. Didn't do anything right this issue.
But yeah, nah, it just gets worse and worse for Marcus, and now knowing that like here's the thing, right? Even though, as I said before, even though he was being shitty, but like he was right about his suspicions about why they were actually in King's Dominion in the first place. Like it's just
getting there.
Yeah.
He was one step away from having it figured out.
But yeah, this issue is really good. And I guess we'll move on to final thoughts. So what did you think of Volume 3, The Snake Pit, as a whole?
As a whole, this volume made me angry a lot, which I guess is good for being invested.
Yeah.
But like I said, it pissed me off a lot. Some good writing in it, though.
I mean, even though I would say this, even though Marcus does a lot of very dumb and very just cringy things. I think, and that obviously, I kind of like some of it upset us. It upset us, but like, I think Remender kind of meant it. I think he meant it.
It's completely intentional. It's
just, there's no way
he was like so well written, you know.
It's so well written that it sets you off. Like it's you know, but yeah, because like, and it makes sense, like, you know, because think about it, like Remender basically had to try to figure out how to write, like he probably thought to himself, how would a damaged 15-year-old who goes to an assassin school deal with like not just a fucked up, not just a relationship, a teenage relationship, but also like feeling abandoned by this relationship and just like by Maria and him going to Saya. Like, how would a teenager with those circumstances deal with that and go about that? And which is the answer is being extremely self-destructive to everybody around him. And yeah, I think it's very well done with how Remender's written Marcus. And yeah, he did a good job, because I was not liking Marcus at all, this volume at all.
It's true. He got on my nerves at almost every possible turn.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, Demoan? What do you think of this volume?
I really like this volume. Action packs, as we've said a couple times already. I thought it was really. I really like how we're getting more to know about Petra. Because Petra is one of my favorite characters in the run, like completely, and I forgot how absent she was in the first 2 volumes. So I'm glad we get, and this is also really good part of Maria's story that I like. So I'm excited to see what they do next. Well, I know, but
yeah, you know, but like
but we read it as a group is what I'm saying.
But yeah, I do like that, especially at the beginning where like it's just the repercussions of like the fuckface Manor raid, and I love the El Diablo stuff. I love that stuff with Maria basically taking revenge on Chico's family. And I think it's really well done. And the fact that like they take her away from it all, it sucks. But like it's gonna set up something. It's gonna set up something I think very significant in the future. If Maria isn't dead. But yeah, I guess obviously like all the seeds that have been planted have been leading up to this bomb drop at the end that's leading up to volume 4. So yeah, I like this issue a lot, but I think the ending cements this issue really well for me. And like I remember when I read the bit this for the first time, like I was liking I thought this volume was like pretty solid, but like the moment that bomb drop hit, that got me so hyped just to read the next one. So yeah, I love this issue. I love this volume was solid for the most part. But yeah, I mean, anyone else want to say before we like close it out?
I think that's all I have to say.
All right.
Yeah, I'm good for this volume.
All right, people. So, yeah, thanks for everyone who was watching this or will watch this. We appreciate it. So, in 2 weeks from now, we're gonna be covering obviously Volume 4 of Deadly Class, which is titled, and I want to put them in there in a second, and it's titled, and I love the title, Die For Me, and that's going to be covering issues 17 to 21. And yeah, I'm very excited. And the thing is, like, this volume is so good. This is my favorite volume in the series from as much as I've read of the series so far, and I consider this volume an event. Like, ooh. I think, like, that's how good it is, in my opinion. So yeah, I guess you would consider Volume 4 the first event of Deadly Class in my eyes, and I'm very excited to talk about it. And obviously, as you can see from the thumbnail, shit gets real. So yeah, but also another thing. I want to make this a little interactive. While we wait for in the next 2 weeks. So I'm gonna do a thing I haven't done before, where I'm gonna drop a poll right now. And for people who are subscribed to our channel, you will see what this poll is. And basically, the poll is I want to know from out of the main 4 characters. Because remember, like what Demoan said, no one's safe in this volume, and I'm gonna make this very clear on that. So, out of the main characters, who do you think is going to die? and you have the option to choose Saya, Willie, Billy, Marcus. So while you wait, people, I want to see what you think. Who do you think is going to die in Volume 4?
That's right. Subscribe and vote.
Subscribe and vote if you're not subscribed already. And it's going to be up until we do the next volume. So I'm very excited about that. And what else I want to say? And also, yeah, check out all of our other content as well, especially tomorrow, because I'm very excited about tomorrow, because a little movie came out over the weekend, Rebecca, right? I don't know if you were a little small film came out tomorrow. I'm over the weekend called Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And yeah, people, and I don't think Rebecca, have you seen the thumbnail for this? I don't know if you've seen it.
You didn't share it with us yet.
Sure. All right, so yeah, so tomorrow at around 7:30, give or take, hopefully, we're gonna be doing our first indie corner, our second indie corner after dark of the year, because last indie corner after dark we did, our third indie corner dark of the year, because last one we did was talking about The Last of Us and Daredevil. That was a few months ago. It's gonna be our first. We're kind
of slacking on that.
We have honestly, because we didn't do a review for Guardians Volume 3. I know, I still haven't seen it. Honestly, I'm not sad about it, because I want to talk more about this than Guardians. So yeah, we're gonna be doing our review for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and I'm so excited. I am so excited to talk about this. I have a lot to say because I watched it on Saturday. Rebecca has seen it, and we gotta organize who's gonna be on it. But please stay tuned for that around 7:30 tomorrow night. And yeah, it's gonna be a good time. So yeah, as always, people, we appreciate the support. Thank you for checking out our Barbie review, Barbie reaction,
you.
because
We did it, girls.
yo, I want to see, because it just has been going up and up. It gone up again. It went up
For
again.
power.
It is currently at 3.6K. It is our highest viewed video on the channel.
What can I say?
Rebecca,
The people have spoken.
Rebecca just has the sauce apparently. So yeah, check that out. Also check out our reaction to the Ninja Turtles trailer that dropped a few days like over the weekend as well. Which doesn't have enough views as the Barbie reaction, but it's fine. I'm not mad at it. I'm a little mad at it, but it's okay. And yeah, just we appreciate the support, and also we're at 142 subscribers, so we're going on up. And I'm happy that y'all actually care about our content, and it means the world to us. We put a lot of work into it. So yeah, as always, people, we love you, we appreciate you. Be on the lookout for new stuff, and get home safe. And we'll see y'all next time. All right, peace.